Hi, welcome to the Dream Factory community. I'm your hostess, Nancy Cantor. And at the Dream Factory community, we support women in taking on their life, their work, and their world. We are blessed to have communities in several areas. We have one in Concord, we have one in Framingham and Medway, we have one in the North Shore around the Reading area, one in Brattleboro, Vermont, and now we have a virtual community so people can really participate anywhere in the world. And what we do here on our show is we interview women from the community who we feel are a good example of living their dreams, but also helping other people live theirs. And today I'm very glad that I have Nicolette Blanco with me. She is a health coach. And we're going to talk today about how simple changes in your lifestyle can make a real difference for your future. Welcome, Nicolette.
Thank you very much.
So, you know, I always start off the show by asking just a little bit about the Dream Factory. Now, I know you were a former member and you just came back.
Yes.
But anything you want to say about how the Dream Factory has supported you?
Well, I just love the fact that you have a whole community of women who all have different dreams, different goals, and different skills. And so it's not only a place where you can develop friendships, you can also get great business support. It's a wonderful both networking and social place, and just very uplifting. And there's just something about being within that community of women that I just love.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're very excited that you're back. And in some ways, you're doing a little bit of a relaunch.
Yes.
Because I know you had a health coaching business before, and you've always worked in the healthcare field.
Correct.
So let's hear a little bit about your background and what brought you to health coaching.
Sure. I've actually worked in healthcare for 27 years now, but always on the administrative end. And knew a few years back, several years back, I really started getting a call to be more of a provider. I really wanted to connect with people on another level, to be able to really make some changes in their health directly. And so I started looking around and really didn't find the right fit. And a friend told me about the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I looked into that and thought, bingo, this is what I've been looking for. It was just a very holistic approach where we just look at the whole person. How do we feed ourselves with our food? How do we feed ourselves with our friends and our work and all of those other ways that fill us up? And how does all that work together? Because that's really what it takes to be healthy. And that really spoke to me. So I did go through that program and became a certified health coach. I did have a few clients several years ago, and due to many things going on in my life, decided to put my focus on more group work, because that's what I could do in my life at that time. So I led several cleanses, and when I did that, it became striking the difference in people in 10 days of just eating real food and getting in touch with their meals. And that is really exciting, and I'm really excited now to be in a place where I can get back to doing individual coaching as well, because that is just wonderful to see those changes happen over a period of time. If you can make changes in 10 days, imagine what can happen when you work with people for a few months, and the impact you can make. So that's been a little bit of my journey in terms of how I came to the health coaching field, and be able to still stay within that realm of healthcare, but in a different model than I was doing in the management work that I was doing previously.
Yeah, I mean, you can support people's health in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
So obviously for 27 years you've been supporting that whole function that helps people be healthier, and now you've studied.
Yep.
And you want to really launch what you can do with people on a personal level.
Correct. Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about, you know, some of the philosophy. I liked what you said about it's about the whole person.
Right.
Because it isn't just about what you eat, it's, you know, the relationships that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's your work, and, you know, is work stressful or not stressful? Is it fulfilling or not fulfilling?
Right.
So there's a lot of different ways that we nurture ourselves.
Yep.
So we want to think about the people tuning in today. What are some, I hate to say tips because that sounds so trite, you know, because I know everybody's individual, but what are some things for people to focus on that they could leave the program today and go, I think I'm going to try this. You know, a couple things, a couple of takeaways. So, You know, that's kind of the intention here, is that people have something they can take away, maybe practice or do differently. Because like you said in the title, that your lifestyle choices can make a huge difference in how your health turns out.
So, you know, when you talked about all the other ways that we feed ourselves, our work, our relationships, etc., that to me is really the primary way that we do feed ourselves. And I don't mean that as though if you're exceptionally happy and you have a great job and all that's going swimmingly, that you can eat cake and ice cream solely and you're fine. You know, it's not really what I mean, unfortunately.
That would be the case, because I really love my work.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
But what it does mean is that when a major aspect of your life is not in sync, when you aren't happy with a major area, if you're really unhappy with your job or with your relationships, it can make it very difficult to make good food choices, because you will eat emotionally, as most people do. And so getting those things in our life aligned to a place where we're really at peace with that makes a huge impact, truly, on our ability to eat well, because we're feeling nourished on a really solid level and an emotional level. And so it takes that piece of eating out of the picture. And that's huge for many people. I don't think there's a person I know, including myself, who hasn't done emotional eating. We fill ourselves up in many ways, and food is just one of them. So I like to have people start with thinking about their lives and what are the major stressors. And some people have many. And I say just pick one. Pick one that you think you could make a small dent in that would make you feel better. Maybe it just starts with, I'm going too fast and I need to take 5 minutes a day to just meditate, just sit, just be still for 5 minutes and collect your thoughts. And that can really recharge you. It's something very simple, but most people do not do that. We get very caught up from the minute we get up in the morning till the time we come home at night. And we don't really take those just few minutes, and that can make a huge difference. So for every person, that's a little different, but what's the real kicker for you? What is the one thing that you could say, I could actually do that in my life, or this is the one stressor that I think would have the biggest impact for me? And just focus on that and take some of that overwhelm out of the picture. Many people definitely get overwhelmed by all the stressors in their life, so it can help to just focus on the one and know that the others will come. They're obviously not going anywhere. So just address the one that you can for now and make that inroad. It's the stepping stone that's always the hardest. That first step can be the hardest one to make.
So it sounds like that's a benefit of working with a health coach, because I would say, you know, if I look into my own life, I mean, I know there's things that I could do better. I know that. But I think there is kind of a tendency to just go fast, do your work, you know, stay focused, and that's like a good day. You know, it never seems like a good idea to stop and take a breath. Right. Never really does. Right. So almost like the coaching would help remind you of what are the things that nurture you in different ways. And I like that so much better than, you know, you have to struggle with a diet. Right. Or you can't eat certain things, you know, and that you have to create a life of deprivation, right? You know, which seems sort of stressful in itself.
Right, and I prefer to talk about it as a life of abundance, because many people are unaware of some of the amazing foods that are out there. They're foreign to them. So I like to introduce new foods into people's diets and say, try this. And the more you can get them to try, rather than saying you can't have that, then that's all you think about is what you can't have.
I know, I'm getting stressed just thinking about not having something.
So, you know, what can you have?
You had me a cake and ice cream.
Yeah. So what can you have?
Okay.
And so let's continue to add those things.
So far what you've said is in your lifestyle is take some time, like 5 minutes to sit and breathe. Right. Okay. Once a day. Thing. Really simple. Okay. Yep. And then you're saying try some new, rather than focus on what you can have, start introducing maybe some new foods. Right. Be a little bit more exploratory. So give me some examples of some good, really, you know, it sounds like there's some nutrient-rich foods you could be having that you could substitute for maybe some other things.
Sure. Simple things like most people are eating a lot of vegetable oils, which are not as healthy as things like olive oil or coconut oil, for example. Better fats for you in there. Fat is not a bad thing, but it's the right kind that you need. So making a simple switch like that, right there, you're starting to get some what we call omega-3 fatty acids into your body. Those are much more beneficial for you than the omega-6s, which you find in vegetable oils. It's a simple change, but it's something that actually starts to help balance your system. I've also found that just going online myself, when I'm looking to add more new and exciting foods, I go on and just start to Google things. Recipes are abundant out there, and it's amazing that you can find at the click of a button now something that you might never have tried before. I will look up, lately I've looked up a lot of vegetarian food because I'm not a vegetarian personally, but I like to go more towards that route than I have been recently. My diet has become so much more fun because I found I don't even know what that spice is. Let's try that. You know, be a little bit adventurous with your food, and it makes it a whole lot more fun and more like an adventure than like a deprivation, like a place where, oh, I just can't have all this, and start to continue to look that way as well.
Well, I find too, I mean, I agree with you. I find anytime I can bring creativity to something, so if I get more interested in cooking or trying something new, or you know, try, you know, even a new vegetable medley that I really like.
Right. We can definitely get in ruts. We can get in food ruts.
You know what I got the other day is I got green lentils, organic green lentils, and I don't usually have lentils. So I decided, and they said you mix it with vegetable broth.
Yep.
So we steam vegetables every night for dinner. So I used the broth from our vegetables and put it in with the lentils.
Right.
So I cooked the lentils, and then I thought, well, let me stick some beans in here. So I put in some kidney beans, because my naturopathic physician said eat kidney beans, it'll be good for you. So I stuck in some kidney beans and some basmati rice. So, and then I cooked it. And that was kind of fun. And I think I put a little bit of green onion in there too, just for a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, I'd say don't be afraid to go off script. We don't have to be by
I'm definitely an off script kind of gal.
Right.
And that was pretty exciting. So now I do have it. I have it in the fridge. And I can, you know, like today when I went to eat, because in honor of you I had a really healthy lunch, that I ate some of that. You know, I had a nice salad and I had some of that, and we had a little bit of leftover trout and I had a little bit of that. So
and that's another thing that I'd like to mention is that people often say that they think it's harder to eat healthy than it is to grab something on the go. But I'm a hard person to convince of that because of how busy I've been in my life. And so I had some to think about, how can you cut down the time? So for me, even when I was exceptionally busy, I almost always brought my lunch to work, but it was just leftovers from dinner the night before. So I didn't have to run out and get it. I didn't have to make it in the morning. It was already ready to go, and you grabbed it and you left. And that really got to be a habit for me. Always make enough. Make more than you're going to eat that night so that you have it for the next day. And that cuts out a whole meal now that you don't have to worry about what you're going to do. And you know you have something that you like that's healthy and that's still fresh. And a lot of things taste better, quite frankly, the second day when those spices have marinated in there. So it's just a little way of cutting the time out and saves you money besides when you're not going out to eat all the time, which many people do.
Right. And I often find that when I make something myself, I make it to my liking.
Right.
And when I go out to restaurants, it isn't always to my liking.
Right.
It's not always better.
Right.
More often than not, it's not better. And so I love it that, you know, I was looking at my fridge this morning, like I had a lot of different choices.
Right.
You know, we had the Brussels sprouts. We have these roasted Brussels sprouts that are absolutely delicious. Right. I highly recommend them.
I love them.
I love them too. And I think also too, like if you make quinoa. Yep. I think quinoa, and that's protein, and it's a
very
grain,
nutritious,
and it's a protein, right?
Right. And
it's a seed.
Yeah, and it cooks up in 15 minutes.
Right.
You know, it's the kind of thing where just like rice or any of those kinds of other grains, you can make a whole pot of it on a Sunday night, and you could use that as your side dish or a base for dinners for the next 3 or 4 days. And that is another really quick and easy tip to get some good nutrition in without having to do a whole big cooking every night. You know, we've got a piece of it done for you already. You just need to heat it up.
Yeah. All right. So now Okay, so eating healthy, being a little bit more adventurous, having some fun. Like you can look, if there's something you like, look for recipes online.
Right.
I would attest, there are a ton of things online, and it's kind of interesting.
And we just need to use it.
You just need to use it, but bring some interest to it,
right.
and not that you have to spend all this time, but make something nice and make it for
right.
a couple of days, so
exactly.
you can continue to take it with you and not spend a lot more time cooking after that.
Right. I never cook for just one night.
Well, so that's another tip.
Yeah.
Be creative and don't cook for one night, and find some new and fun things.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 2 tips already.
Yep.
Breathe, be creative.
Yep. One huge one, which is so simple, but most people don't do it, is just to stay hydrated. Most people, we have our water,
okay,
most people are in a constant state of dehydration, and they don't really know it because that's where they're at all the time. And it doesn't mean we have to have 8 big glasses of water every day, but we should be drinking consistently throughout the day. Even better to drink in between meals than be drinking a lot at meals, especially as we get older, which is another tip. Because when we drink a lot with our meals, we're diluting the stomach acid that we actually need to break down the food. So you're really diluting that, and you don't want to do that. And we lose that stomach acid as we get older. So as we age, it's actually more important. Do your hydrating in between meals. Have your water in between, and then wait maybe an hour or so after, and then have your meal with a little bit if you need it to wash something down, but not a big glass of liquid at that time, and that will help your digestion as well.
Fantastic. I was wondering why you're not supposed to drink with your meals, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, taking some cleaner and dumping, half of it out and then filling it with water, and suddenly it doesn't work so well anymore, and you wonder why. Well, you've just diluted all the stuff that you needed. So that's
silly.
That's
of
why.
Course that would happen. That makes
would
perfect
happen.
sense.
Yeah.
So what else? What other tips are in there?
I would bring the idea of slowing down to your eating as well. Just chewing your food, as crazy as that sounds, people habitually are eating quickly, so they chew about 3 or 4 times and swallow. And chewing is the only part of digestion we have control over. And so the better job we do of that, the better our system will work, and can really help people, particularly with things like acid reflux, because you want to give your body food that's really ready to be digested. So to do the simple act of breathing at your meal, actually paying attention to your food instead of the violent TV show on at that time, which would be nice not to be watching while you're eating, is helpful. It actually allows your body time to digest. We're not always really good at differentiating what's going on that screen versus what's happening in real life when it comes to our digestion. So when we're in a knot in our stomach, we're not going to digest that food well, and you'll definitely get that kind of knot that people get. And part of it is just that. They just haven't taken the time to actually do the upfront work of just chewing and getting that food in a state that it should be.
So if people are suffering from acid reflux, or
it's
even if they're
tip.
not, it's a great tip.
It is a great
to really
tip.
chew your food.
Yeah.
So you're helping your
So it's
stomach
just
out
about
a little.
liquid. Like
Really?
Yeah. And
how many times would that be?
Well, if it's a piece of lettuce, maybe it's only 4 or 5 times. But if it's a good sized bite of chicken, it might be 30 times. And that sounds like a lot, and it is. Most people don't get anywhere near that.
Sure.
But not only does it make it better for your stomach and for your digestion, for people who, for example, if someone's trying to lose weight, it gives your body time. As you're eating, it's taking you longer to eat. It gives your body time to get the signal to your brain that you're actually full. Usually by the time your brain knows you're full, you've eaten so much you're well past the point of actually being satisfied and into the point of discomfort.
Wow.
Yeah. It takes a little while for that signal to really happen.
Okay, so slow down and chew your food.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and don't watch violent TV while
Would be
you're
nice.
eating, because you might be, so you would be internally stressed.
Exactly.
If you're
That's
watching
exactly
people
what happens.
being murdered and maimed on television.
Right.
Okay.
And do what you can to move your body. And it doesn't have to be,
move your body.
Does not have to be major exercise even. If you have a really busy day at work, can you set and a little alarm that once an hour at the very least you'll stand up and maybe walk around the office and come back. It's great for your circulation, it's great for your brain power, it just gets the juices going again, and it's just helpful all around. It's important to just keep your body moving, and so often people are sitting at that computer for hours at a time and frozen like this. Clicking at that computer screen. I actually remember several years ago being in my office working on a project, and I have a light sensor in the office, the light went out. I hadn't moved so long, the light went out. That's a problem. Like, you need to be moving a little bit. So that is not something that takes a lot of time, but very important in terms of even your productivity. You'll feel much better having to get up and walk around. The ideas start to come in a way that they didn't before. And just physically for your body, it's very important to keep moving throughout the day.
That's great.
Yeah.
So any other tips?
Nourish your relationships. It's huge, and I just can't state that enough. Your relationship with your friends, relationships with your family, relationships with your colleagues, and beyond that, perhaps most importantly, is your relationship with yourself. And I find particularly women, and we know from the Dream Factory that we do a lot of giving, and we're the last ones we put on that list. I think it needs to be reversed, because I don't know how you give from an empty well. We have to fill ourselves up, and we have to be feeling vibrant and full ourselves, and then we can really be of service to other people. So I think that's just key, in both being happy and healthy will make a huge impact in your life.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. And I would agree with that. I feel like it's so important to nurture the people in your life, right, and to be connected, because when you don't have that connection, work's great, but it's not everything. Right. It's interesting. I just, one of my friends from high school, I had a good friend who I knew since I was in 4th grade, and we were friends in high school, and then she was my college roommate, and her maiden name was Jane Cullen, and she was married with Jane McOsker. And I got a call from her husband 3 weeks ago, and she passed away. Oh. She had like a little mini stroke. She went to the hospital. They brought her back, and then they lost her. Oh. So I think it's so important to realize this. Maybe this is a little sidetracked, but it's definitely on my mind. Yeah. To nourish those relationships in your life. Right. I'm glad. About a year ago, I was in touch with her, and I went to go visit her. But there have been several times since then where I said, "Oh, I should give her a call," and you think it's forever, and it's not always forever. That's right. So I think it's important to stay in touch with people that you love, right, when you get that natural inclination to do so. Follow your heart, kind of thing. That's right. That's pretty important as well. Yeah. So anything else you want to share with us? Because then there's a couple things I do want to ask you about how you work with people. Because some people might have never heard of a health coach or how that works. Right. I don't think there's anything else I want to add to what we've talked about so far. So, okay. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about how do people access a health coach? How does, do you do workshops? What kinds of things do people access from a health coach? How does that happen? There can be various avenues. Sometimes health coaches actually are connected to a particular physician practice, so they actually will know of the health coach and could refer patients to them. Other times they're working completely independently and maybe doing workshops in your community, and that's how they're getting word out, and that's how people will find them. They could be doing workshops in corporations. There are many health coaches out there now that are doing workshops in major companies that are really helping to transform health and productivity in those workplaces. So there are various avenues to work with a health coach. I think
great thing about working with a coach is they have the time to actually talk through the issues that need to be dealt with. We know in physician offices that they're very overworked. I've seen this for the 27 years that I've been there. They have very limited time, and as much as they would like to, you can't do a whole counseling session because there's really not the time to do that. So they'll give recommendations, but it's impossible for them to follow up. And so that's really where a health coach comes into play, because we can take those recommendations and really work with clients to meet those health goals that they have, and help them to prioritize and do it in a way that is meaningful for them, that is sustaining for them. So I actually meet with clients semi-monthly, so every other week, for 45 to 50 minutes, which is a nice chunk of time to really sit and have a good conversation. I do a very extensive health history of them to really get to the bottom of, what are the key issues here that we need to look at. And I'm also available in between those sessions via email if they have questions. So if they've got in week 2, they have a question and we don't meet for another week, they can definitely contact me and get some answers in between. So it's a really nice ongoing support system to just keep you going and know that you're on the right track.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, just to, so if people were looking for a health coach, if they hear something today and they go, that's really a good idea.
Yeah.
So they could check in their community and see if there's talks, or maybe at their health club there could be talks. If people were interested in bringing you into some place where they already were, they could contact you, and your info will be at the end of the show.
Yep, absolutely.
It also sounds like if you're talking to your physician and you want support around the kinds of things that we talked about today, you could say, do you recommend a health coach?
Yep, and some physicians are well-versed and others are not. So it does depend on that, but it's definitely worth asking because you don't know, that could be a good avenue to find a health coach as well. And the school that I graduated from also, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, if you go to their website, which is just instituteforintegrativenutrition.com, you can actually find a health coach in your area. So they will have it listed there. And one thing that I've been really excited about as well is that lately, on top of the health coaching experience, I'm also taking courses in functional medicine, which is essentially just stating, what are all the symptoms that we have, what are your health goals, and really doing some deep dives into what might be causing those symptoms, and really trying to get to the root cause of issues that are going on with you. So that's been really exciting to add to the practice.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're really doing your homework, and you're completely invested in what will make people healthy moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't remember if I've mentioned this yet, but I actually did quit my full-time job in January, and now this is my full-time work. So it's very exciting to be able to do that and really make the space in my life to do that as well.
That's great, and it sounds like that's a healthy choice for you.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you're walking your talk.
That's right, that's right.
That you've taken some time to breathe.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You've been able to make some better choices.
That's right.
You're chewing on life and deciding what your choices are.
Right.
You've been very creative,
yep.
right? And
yep.
you've checked out some new things for yourself. And
right.
I just really honor you and want to acknowledge you for your commitment to
Thanks.
People's health.
Thank you.
You've been in healthcare for 27 years. I think
yep.
you've tapped into something that's really needed and necessary for people. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
So thanks for being here today, Nicolette.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm just going to sign off. This is Nancy Cantor. I'm your hostess for the Dream Factory community. I've been talking with Nicolette Blanco. She is a health coach in the Metro West area. And I think she brought up some really good points. So please, if you've caught something today that you said, I could do that, that'd be pretty easy, why don't I try that? Take something away from the show today and do something different for yourself, because we're here to support you in living your dreams. So thank you for tuning in. I wish you a healthy, happy month, and as always, take a step so you can live your dreams. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
When you smoke, your child smokes. When you quit, you lower the risk of your baby being born early or developing asthma, pneumonia, and more. For tips to help you quit for good, visit yesquit.org.